Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another week of Open the Book. Do you remember last week we talked about the Israelites who had escaped over the Red Sea into the desert on their way to the promised land of Canaan, and they were moaning. Do you remember? They were moaning and they were moaning and they were moaning, and we left them moaning in the desert last week. Well, this week we're going to see what happens to them. Sometimes in today's world, people have to leave their homes and travel miles and miles because there's danger, maybe from war or perhaps natural disasters. Well, in today's story, we remember that the Hebrew people had left Egypt because God had saved them from slavery, and he'd used Moses to help them to escape, and he protected them on their long journey. Now they were safe. Or were they? Let's open the book and let's read today's story, Spies in Canaan. You're going to see the Open the Book team in this story, but you're also going to hear the Year 4s who are being the voices of the Hebrew people. So thank you, Year 4, for your help, and I hope you all enjoy this story. When the Hebrews finally arrived at the edge of the land that God had promised them, they were still not happy.
We're worried. We're frightened. What if something bad happens when we get there?
So they asked Moses to send spies into the land. They wanted to know exactly what lay ahead. There were 12 spies, one for each of the Hebrew tribes. They tiptoed into the promised land. They hid behind bushes. They peeped out from behind boulders. And they had a good look around. Then they sneaked back across the border and told their people about everything that they had seen. At first, their reports sounded good.
The land is wonderful. There's lots of food. Just look at the size of these grapes.
But some of the spies had other things to say.
The cities are surrounded by enormous walls. The people are giants. And they make us look like tiny little grasshoppers.
2 other spies, whose names were Joshua and Caleb, cried out,
"Wait! God has promised this land to us, and he will help us to win it, no matter how big our enemies are."
But it was too late. The Hebrews had already started complaining again.
They'll kill us and take our wives and children to be slaves. Why did we stay in Egypt?
God was angry when he heard this, angry that his people still did not trust him, even though he had already saved them from so much. So he sent them back into the wilderness and told them they must wander there until they stopped complaining. And so they did. They wandered for 40 years until their children were grown up and everyone who had complained was very, very, very old. Everyone except Joshua and Caleb, the 2 spies who had trusted God. At long last, it really was time for God's people to stop wandering in the wilderness. So Joshua and Caleb led the Hebrews across the Jordan River and into the promised land. And this time there was no moaning and no complaining, only cheering and grateful thanks. So thank you, Year 4, for those lovely voice recordings you did for us. So isn't it strange that even though God had done so many amazing things to help them, his people still didn't trust him? Joshua and Caleb, who were very young when they left Egypt, trusted God, but the people wouldn't listen to them. When God's people eventually went into the land that God had promised them, they must have been so happy that their wandering days in the wilderness was over. Can you imagine how different it would have been to be able to be in a town, in a home, and settle down rather than wandering from place to place? I'm going to say a prayer now, and if you want to make it your prayer, you can say Amen at the end with me. Dear God, as we've been thinking about our mental health this week, help us to know who we should listen to and who we can trust. Thank you that you plan good things for us and want us to be happy. Amen. So that was a great story for this week, isn't it? When we've been thinking about mental health, thinking about people that we can trust and how we can get along together. And it must have been very hard for Joshua and Caleb when everyone carried on moaning. And of course, we remember Moses, who started the journey with them. It must have been very hard for him when everyone was moaning. So let's make sure that we carry on not moaning, not complaining, and remember who we can trust. Remember that when you're in school, you can trust your teachers, and your teachers are always there to help you. All the members of staff in this school are here because of you, and we want to make sure that you know you are safe and you can talk to us about anything at any time. So I hope you're having a good week thinking about mental health, and I hope you've enjoyed that story today. Remember to be grateful for what we have got and to trust those people around us, and most of all, to trust God because He always wants the best for us. Have a good week. See you soon.